Welcome back to Close Up. Secretary of State Bill Gardner decided last week to announce he's stepping down, bringing to an end an iconic Granite State career in public service. Secretary Gardner's door is always open in Concord, and we sat down with him amid his working office to discuss his past, present, and future. Mr. Secretary, it's been a long and storied career. What prompted you to say, now's the time to step away?
Well, it's been on my mind for a while, and I thought about it a lot over Thanksgiving, and I then continued to think about it, and this is a sort of an intermediary time in this office where it's at election time. We're out straight from April until almost December of the year, and so there was going to be a time someday, and this was one of the times that was better than most others.
Your time in this office has both mirrored and fueled the rise and the power of the First in the Nation primary. And some people worry that the end of your era could mean the end of that era. But you don't necessarily share that concern. Why is that?
Because first is the genius of the law. The law was written in a way back in 1975 because we had this primary first for over half a century. And it was simply attached to the same day as our town meetings. And it happened to be first all that time. It wasn't created to be first. We weren't first the first time in 1916. We became first because the state that was a week ahead of us in 1916 decided to move its primary to May, and the other state decided to scrap the primary and have a caucus. So 1920, we became First in the Nation because it just happened. We never took it from anyone else, and that continued for a half a century. And then television had a lot to do with it. As people began to see how this primary played out and what happened, it became popular. And if you look at this primary from a distance, in an academic way, you can find all kinds of reasons to be critical. You can, and we have lived defending or combating whether the reasons were accurate reasons or not. But it was important that people actually experience a primary, because I don't, and I say this to new reporters all the time, don't be critical of the primary until you have experienced one. Come here and cover it, and then it's fair game. And when that happens, when they do and spend some time here, it makes a big difference, because there are some things in life, I touched on this, you have to experience. And when you experience it, it gives you a much different perspective. And this state, because it's small, it's easy to get around, it has more people per capita than any other state that have held a public office or have run for a public office. We're always in election mode. There's only one other state that has 2-year terms for governor, and all of our state government elected they all have 2-year terms. And so it's not that the people of New Hampshire are more intelligent than the people of other states. We're like the other states. But there's a culture here, and it goes back to the original Constitution, the belief that there needs to be a lot of checks and balances in government, because people, human beings, are human beings, and they're going to be tempted. And the more people that can share the power of government, the better. The more voices that are part of it, the better. And so if you have a lot of elections and you have a lot of positions that exist for people to run for, that creates a dynamic here that is not like any other place in the country. And when people say, well, maybe we could have it begin in another small state, like South Dakota, or New Mexico, or Montana, or Delaware. But you can't toll the culture, the tradition, to another place. Just like I've used the example that you can't, there's a reason why the Statue of Liberty is in New York. Baltimore, people in Baltimore can say it's not fair that it's there every year. We've been an important harbor in this country going back to the beginning, and New Orleans can say the same thing. We deserve it. But there's a reason why the Statue of Liberty is not towed every 3 years to Baltimore, and then to New Orleans or some other place. Because there's a historical reason why it's there. And there's a historical reason why the New Hampshire primary began here and continued to exist here for now over a century, because it was natural.
You talk about the law and the culture, but there's also you. You yourself have defended the primary and turned it into an art form.
Every cycle, I was better at it than I was the cycle before. And, you know, we're like that. With age comes experience, and experience matters in matters like this. It's not like 2 and 2 is 4. It's not like mathematics. It's, and, you know, a lot of it is having to trust some people and knowing that sometimes it may be unfounded, it may not, and so you learn.
45 years in office, by definition, you've got a lot more wins than losses, and your legacy is unmatched. But are there any regrets?
I know it probably seems that I should, but regrets that have ended in casualties, so to speak, that we lost something. No.
You made it a real point to try and work on restoring and building confidence in elections, but unfortunately that trend line continues in the wrong direction. Do you worry about the future of voting and the democratic process?
Absolutely. And it's the most important concern, I believe. It's certainly the most important concern for me, but it's the concern for a lot of people, and it should be. And it should be. And the situation that exists today, it began about 15 years ago. A few years ago, I said it began about 10 years. It's somewhere around in the middle, like a dozen years. This began before the previous president. This began back 2008, 2010, 2012. For the first time, national polling firms were seeing rising numbers of people that felt the voting system lacked integrity. There was more fraud than they wanted. That's what they believed. And that number has continued. And it's to the point where in the last half a dozen years, half the country in all the different major polling firms, people are responding that they believe that. And how do we deal with that? You have to do it together. You can't be attacking those people and those people attacking the ones that are attacking them. There has to be a way to deal with it factually. And it's not easy. That's why it hasn't happened. But that's the way it will happen someday. And it's just a matter of when that day comes. And the blame, from my perspective, is not all one side. The blame is a shared blame, because one side is using one set of tactics, the other side is using the other set of tactics. And you can't even get a way to, this country is strong and stable because of the way it began and our constitutions. That's provided the stability. There's no other country on earth that has lasted. We came together. We worked toward the middle. When we elected presidents, the difference between one side and the other side, there were differences, but there were a lot more similarities. And the countries that have multiple parties, and most of the Western democracies do. Germany's got like 20 parties. They have the automobile drivers party. They're set up like that. We didn't have that. We had the two parties, and the two parties gravitated to the middle. But we've gone way past that.
What's next? I know you've talked about writing a book, but what kind of a book does retired Secretary of State Bill Gardner sit down and want to write first?
Yeah, I have always loved telling the New Hampshire story because we have such a rich history here. And because we're not a big state, we don't get the kind of attention. But the facts are the facts here. And those examples that I've given you, we have a story to tell to the country. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to do.
So there will be more to come from Bill Gardner. He's going to keep telling New Hampshire's story. In the meantime, we offer our thanks to the Secretary and sincere congratulations on his retirement.